Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we'll be looking at what is happening with the future of two Manchester United players, Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood. Both out on loan, both doing quite well. What is going to happen? Are they going to come back to Old Trafford? Are they going to get sold? Is it going to be a loan move? A loan move? That's not a word. A loan move. Also, Michael Olise, it looks like there could be competition for the French youngster. Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and it's pretty mild, to be honest with you. You might not even need your parkers today. Loads of stories to get through. But before we do that, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 750,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your support, we will get there. Right, I'm going to go into the stories. But first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about Thomas Tuchel, because that story we covered last night on Paddock Live, and it's still doing the rounds now. Now, it's sort of shifted somewhat, because last night there was this story about how Tuchel wants to come to Manchester United. I think various outlets, various newspapers had said that. There was also the footage of Rio Ferdinand and Thomas Tuchel talking to each other, whispering to each other. He was asked by Laura Woods, Rio Ferdinand, what was the conversation about? Was it about Manchester United? And he was a little bit coy, Rio Ferdinand, when he spoke about it. But it did seem as though he might be asking him, are you going to come to Manchester United? And we know that Thomas Tuchel wants to come back to the Premier League. However, had you asked that question at about 9:30 last night, do you want Thomas Tuchel? I think a lot of people would have been going, yeah, why not? Bayern Munich on the verge of going to the Champions League, 3 Champions League finals for Thomas Tuchel with 3 different clubs. Can't be sniffed at. He's obviously won it with Chelsea as well. However, when the game sort of unravelled, when Real Madrid won it, and the nature of that win and the fact that Thomas Tuchel took off Harry Kane as well, people have sort of shifted their opinions on him, and social media has been like, whoa, Thomas Tuchel, what's he done? And then newspapers have picked up on that. And a lot of rival fans have been revelling in it, saying, look, throwing away a goal lead in the space of 2 minutes, he seems like United manager. So you've got a few papers out there who've been publishing those stories saying United fans react, all that sort of nonsense that you get. Thomas Tuchel, or Manchester United urged not to sign Thomas Tuchel. And when you look at who they're being urged by, it'll be some Liverpool fan on Twitter or something, or, well, not Liverpool fan, they probably want us to get him after that, or some United fan on Twitter with about 12 followers. It's a load of nonsense. So there's a few stories doing the rounds there. I don't think that I said it last night, that moment or that game defines Thomas Tuchel, whether you want him or not. You have to look at his sort of career in its entirety, and he has been a very, very successful manager. It does undermine him a little bit, though. It's not the only reason why you won't get him, but it's one of those reasons where you might go, I'm not so sure. Had he got to another final, that might have pushed him over the line, where you go, 3 Champions League finals, 3 different clubs. That's the kind of manager you want at Manchester United. Now, however, you look at it, you go, well, 2 seasons at Bayern Munich, 1 title. Is that good enough? Let me know in the chat, the comments. Has it affected your opinion? Do you care? Do you want Thomas Tuchel? Do you want to still stick with Erik ten Hag? I know the narrative shifts almost by game by game. If you'd have asked after the Crystal Palace game, I think everyone would have wanted Thomas Tuchel. Now, if you ask the question, a lot of people might be going, I'm not so sure. Let us know what you think in the comments. Just on the Champions League as well, obviously Jadon Sancho is going to the Champions League final. There's been a lot of rumours, conjecture, stories about his future. What is going to happen there? Is he going to come back to Manchester United if the manager leaves? Is he going to come back even if the manager stays? Seems slightly unlikely. Does getting to the Champions League final affect his future in any way? Does it make Manchester United want him? Does it mean that Dortmund are going to be pretty sort of keen, even more keen, to keep hold of him? There's a story, I think, in the Manchester Evening News, I think it's Cyril Marshall's ran a story, and he's saying about Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, how the club looking to sell both those players could fetch around 80 million quid for the pair. I don't think that's a million miles away from what you could expect to get for Mason Greenwood and Jadon Sancho if you were able to sell the pair. I know, obviously, Mason Greenwood had a decent spell at Getafe. I think he's got about, 10 or 11 goals in 31 games. I think is his record there so far. He does seem to be, I won't say improving it game by game, but you can see he's getting more into his stride over the course of that loan spell as well. Jadon Sancho obviously done well in getting Dortmund to the Champions League final. I don't think his loan spell has been a complete, unmitigated success. I think there has been sort of games where he hasn't been quite at it, but on the whole, getting to Champions League final, that impressive performance he put on against, I think, Paris Saint-Germain in the first leg of the semi-final as well, can't have done him any harm. So you can understand why Getafe and Dortmund will be keen to keep both those players. Can they afford it? Getafe doesn't look like they can. Dortmund probably could, but they might have to break their transfer record to bring him there. I think their transfer record at the moment is around 35 million for Ousmane Dembele when they brought him in, or something like that. I'm not quite sure on the exact figures, but it's around that ballpark. Would they be able to do that for Jadon Sancho? Now, what the article is saying in the Evening News is United could still look at loan options. It could be 2 more loan options for both those players. I think they're both contracted for at least past the next season, so you could loan them again. Doesn't really solve the issue when it comes to Mason Greenwood, but it at least keeps him playing football and maybe gives Manchester United a bit of breathing space as well, a bit of room. And plus, if he does really well, maybe puts himself in the shop window. I don't know how long his contract is. I think there's the option to extend it after next season, but would you extend it with Mason Greenwood with everything that's gone on off the pitch? Let us know in the chat and the comments what you think about that. But it looks like those 2 players heading out the exit door. Will it be a loan move? Will it be a loan move for one, a permanent deal for the other? I'm not so sure. We'll have to wait and see. One player who looks like he doesn't have a Manchester United future is Brandon Williams. There's a story, I think, in Stretford News saying that Brandon Williams basically surplus to requirements. Now he's going to be, he's going to end up leaving Manchester United. Not a big surprise. Went on loan to Ipswich this season. Now on the surface you go, well, Ipswich just been promoted to the Premier League. Great. He must have had a great loan spell. However, he's only played 15 games. I think he did okay at first. He's played 15 games, scored a couple of goals. However, he's not played for a long time. I think he's missed, I don't want to put a number on it. He's missed a big chunk of the season. He's missed a lot at the end of this season with injury, and I think he's had a few off-the-field issues as well that have been questioned. So it's not been a completely happy loan spell for them. He's played his part in helping Kieran McKenna's side get back into the Premier League. However, I don't think he's done enough to go, right, now he's going to come back to Manchester United and challenge for that left-back spot. Or Ipswich are going to say, well, we want to keep him on a permanent deal. I think he might be left in limbo a little bit, and I think he's going to end up leaving Old Trafford according to Stretford News anyway. So I wish Brandon Williams well. I like Brandon. I've interviewed him when he was away on tour. Seems like a good lad. Has put in some good performances in Manchester United. Came into the Manchester United side at a very young age. I think he was about 18 when he got into the Manchester United side, and at one point was keeping Luke Shaw out of the team. Just not quite worked out for him. I hope he does get a move, and I hope he gets his career back on track because he's a very, very talented footballer. Talking of very, very talented footballers, Michael Olise, who is Manchester United's numero uno target, even more so after that mesmerising performance at Selhurst Park against United. However, it looks like other clubs are looking at him. Aston Villa apparently are looking at him. I saw this on the BBC News' sort of papers roundup. They were talking about the fact that Aston Villa have been linked with Michael Olise. It would be a real blow now if Olise didn't come to United. After all the sort of reports, stories, rumours about him coming here, the performance he put in against us, I think everyone now is looking at him going, yeah, there's a player United could use. If he ended up going to Villa Park, a team that have sort of leapfrogged us in the sort of table and the quality they've got at the minute, I think you look at Villa and you go, look, they're doing a lot better than Manchester United. The table doesn't lie and all that jazz. If they were to get Olise in, I'd be a bit disappointed. I'm not saying that Olise is the be-all and end-all for Manchester United. If we don't get him, that's not it. Oh, finish club, fold the club and all that nonsense. But there's every reason to think that Manchester United want him. There's every reason to think he could do a good job at Manchester United, especially after the season he's having. And following that performance against us, there's every reason as a United fans to be keen to see him playing for this club in the future. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, because with any decent player, any decent young player, especially at Crystal Palace, no disrespect to them, they are a selling club, you're going to get other clubs interested, and Aston Villa could be an attractive proposition for him. We'll have to wait and see. Lots of ifs and buts and maybes there. One to keep an eye on, as always. It's going to be back later on today. We've got Off the Bar coming up. I think it's going to be all 4 of us, me, Stephen Howson, Adam McCullough, and Joe Smith back for that one. If you're not doing, make sure as well you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty outside relatively warm Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.